What really happened in those 45 minutes? And why did Jungkook and Taehyung seem so reluctant to let the public know, even though the biggest surprise for ARMY was already unintentionally revealed before the tour even began? That question exploded in many minds before anyone had the chance to prepare a neat answer, because what unfolded within that seemingly insignificant span of time was not just another rumor, nor an empty piece of fan imagination, but a chain of signals, gestures, and fragments of truth that, when carefully assembled, formed a narrative far too significant to ignore. Only 25 minutes had passed, yet the impact felt like a quiet tremor spreading through the K-pop industry, raising an unsettling academic question. Can such a brief moment truly alter how the public perceives two global figures like Jungkook and Taehyung, especially when they are on the verge of delivering what is said to be a deeply emotional surprise for ARMY before the tour begins? In the modern entertainment landscape, time is everything. 25 minutes can mean a single song played, a short press briefing, or one post that quickly disappears beneath the algorithm. But in the case of Jungkook and Taehyung, those 25 minutes transformed into a liminal space filled with meaning, a space where the boundary between what was planned and what slipped out unintentionally began to blur. Casual observers may have dismissed it as a minor incident, yet for cultural analysts and fans accustomed to reading subtle signs, those minutes felt like a door opening too soon, briefly revealing something that was meant to remain hidden until the perfect moment. Truths that are not meant for public consumption rarely appear as official statements or direct confessions. They surface through awkward pauses, lingering gazes, or sentences that should have ended but didn't. Jungkook and Taehyung, names long associated with exceptional professionalism, appeared caught between the desire to present a monumental surprise for ARMY and the necessity of keeping the narrative tightly controlled. Here lies the emotional tension. The surprise is real, the preparation is serious, yet this small leak has pushed the public to wonder whether there is a deeper layer to the story. Before a tour begins, expectations reach their peak. A tour is not merely a sequence of concerts. It is a celebration, an affirmation of identity, and a test of the bond between artists and fans. Jungkook and Taehyung understand this both academically and emotionally. They know every creative decision will be scrutinized, every movement interpreted. So when news emerged that they were preparing a special surprise for ARMY, the public reaction was not just excitement but suspicion. What kind of surprise could be significant enough to mark the moment before a global tour, and why did it feel as though the truth behind it was being deliberately held back? The first clues did not come from a grand stage, but from moments that seemed trivial. A scheduled transition that felt too abrupt, a smile that appeared and vanished, and a recorded gap of just 25 minutes that nonetheless sparked hours of digital discussion. In mass communication theory, such instances are often described as liminal moments, transitional phases where meaning has not fully formed, yet interpretive potential is immense. Jungkook and Taehyung, knowingly or not, stood right at the center of that phase at ARMY. A global community known for being both analytical and deeply emotional did not remain silent. Questions multiplied, not only about what the surprise might be, but why it felt so sensitive. Was it personal, artistic, or symbolic? Did it relate to an emotional journey the two had undergone before the tour? Or did it touch on something long whispered about behind the scenes? Each possibility felt plausible, given BTS's history of weaving personal narratives into large-scale artistic concepts. What intensified the drama was the contrast between Jungkook and Taehyung's public image and the atmosphere of uncertainty that emerged. For years, both have been seen as masters of the stage and media. Yet this time, a sense of vulnerability and humanity surfaced. The truth they seemed unwilling to reveal was not necessarily negative. It may have been too precious, too emotional, or simply too soon. In this context, emotional clickbait does not function as empty provocation, but as a reflection of a genuine tension felt by fans. From an academic perspective on popular culture, pre-tour surprises often function as ritual openings, symbols marking the transition from preparation to performance. Jungkook and Taehyung appear to have intended this surprise as a powerful marker, not mere fleeting entertainment. But the early leak of signals disrupted the ritual, forcing the public to witness a process meant to remain hidden. Was this a strategic misstep or part of a much larger narrative? Emotion plays a central role here. ARMY is not simply waiting for a surprise. They are waiting for reassurance that the emotional bond with the artists they support remains intact and evolving. Every small clue feels like a personal message, every potential surprise like a gift born of mutual trust. When Jungkook and Taehyung appeared hesitant to reveal the full truth, mixed emotions arose: curiosity, protectiveness, and a desire to understand. It is impossible to ignore that the K-pop industry itself is in transition. Global pressure, commercial expectations, and creative demands frequently collide. In such an environment, deciding whether to conceal or reveal truth is no trivial matter. Jungkook and Taehyung occupy a unique position as both artists and cultural symbols. Any surprise they prepare is not just about music or staging, but about the identity narrative they build alongside ARMY. As those 25 minutes passed and the signals became publicly visible, the discourse shifted. It was no longer simply about what the surprise is, but why it feels so important that they wanted to keep it hidden. This question invites deeper analysis of the artist, audience dynamic in the digital age. Transparency is often praised as a core value, yet there are times when secrecy strengthens meaning. Jungkook and Taehyung seem to be navigating this dilemma under a global spotlight. Pre-tour surprises are typically designed to spark collective euphoria. In this case, however, that euphoria is mixed with an almost painful curiosity. ARMY senses that something more profound than a stage concept or new setlist is at play. There is an emotional layer not yet fully revealed, and it is precisely this layer that makes the story so compelling. As time goes on, speculation grows, but one thing becomes clear. The surprise Jungkook and Taehyung are preparing is no coincidence. It is the result of a long process, reflection, and perhaps a need to express something difficult to articulate directly. In artistic tradition, surprises often serve as vehicles for truths that words alone cannot convey. Is that what is happening here? The drama lies in a simple paradox. The more they try to keep the truth concealed, the stronger public curiosity becomes. And the stronger that curiosity grows, the deeper the emotional bond formed. ARMY is not merely observing. They are participating in the act of waiting, interpreting, and feeling. This is the true power of those 25 minutes, a brief moment that sparked an extended discourse on trust, surprise, and the relationship between artists and fans. As the tour approaches, this tension does not fade, it intensifies. Each passing day feels like a countdown to an inevitable reveal. Yet perhaps the greatest meaning lies within the delay itself. Jungkook and Taehyung, with all their hesitation and intention, may be reminding us that not all truths need to be revealed at once, and not all surprises lose their value simply because a fragment slips out early. When the surprise is finally presented, it will not be judged solely by production scale or stage grandeur, but by the emotional journey that preceded it. From a seemingly insignificant 25 minutes to a global conversation filled with questions, clues, and shock, this story proves that in modern K-pop, small moments can generate vast resonance. And perhaps that is the most honest truth of all. Jungkook, Taehyung, and ARMY are bound not only by music, but by the shared experience of waiting and feeling together. In the end, the opening question still lingers, sharper than ever. Will this prematurely revealed truth change how ARMY perceives the surprise, or will it make it even more meaningful? The answer may only emerge when the stage lights come on, the tour begins, and the surprise transforms from rumor into a living emotional experience. One thing is certain, those 25 minutes have left a mark that will not easily fade, for Jungkook, for Taehyung, and for ARMY around the world. As anticipation continues to build, the silence surrounding that surprise becomes louder than any official announcement ever could. Silence, in this context, is not emptiness, it is pressure. It presses against expectations, against emotions, against the collective imagination of ARMY, who are trained by years of experience to recognize that when Jungkook and Taehyung choose not to speak, it is often because what they are preparing carries weight far beyond ordinary performance. The absence of confirmation does not cool the conversation. It fuels it, transforming speculation into a shared emotional vigil. What makes this moment particularly striking is how it challenges the usual mechanics of idol fan communication. In an era defined by constant updates, live streams, and instant reassurance, withholding information feels almost radical. Jungkook and Taehyung are not simply delaying news, they are controlling tempo, forcing time to stretch. From a cultural perspective, this creates a rare inversion of power. Instead of the audience consuming content on demand, the audience must wait, reflect, and sit with uncertainty. That waiting becomes part of the experience itself. Emotionally, this delay taps into something deeply human. Anticipation mixed with uncertainty often heightens attachment. Fans begin to project hopes, fears, and personal meanings onto the unknown. For ARMY, the surprise no longer exists only as a future event. It becomes a mirror reflecting their own emotional journeys with BTS over the years. Memories of past eras, unspoken moments, and emotionally charged performances resurface, blurring the line between nostalgia and expectation. The surprise, whatever its form, is already alive long before it reaches the stage. There is also a subtle psychological tension at play between Jungkook and Taehyung themselves. Both are artists who have grown under relentless global scrutiny, learning when to reveal and when to retreat. Their shared hesitation suggests not indecision, but care. Care for meaning, for timing, and for how ARMY will receive what is coming. This is not the anxiety of being unprepared. It is the gravity of knowing that what they are about to present could redefine a chapter of their relationship with fans. Academically, such moments are often described as narrative thresholds. Once crossed, there is no return to the previous state of perception. Jungkook and Taehyung appear acutely aware that once this surprise is revealed, interpretation will solidify, discourse will stabilize, and the mystery will dissolve. By delaying, they preserve multiplicity of meaning. Every fan imagines something slightly different, and in doing so, each becomes emotionally invested in their own version of the truth. What heightens the emotional stakes further is the timing before the tour. A tour is forward-facing, expansive, and physically exhausting. Choosing to anchor it with an emotionally charged surprise suggests intention. It implies that the performances ahead are not just about spectacle, but about connection, grounding, and perhaps even reconciliation with unspoken emotions. The surprise feels less like an accessory to the tour and more like its emotional prologue. As days pass, even the smallest movements are scrutinized. A glance exchanged, a tone shift in an interview, a brief pause before answering a question. Everything becomes evidence in an unspoken trial of interpretation. Yet despite the intensity of analysis, there is also restraint. Many fans sense instinctively that this is a moment that deserves patience rather than pressure. The bond between Jungkook, Taehyung, and ARMY is not built solely on access, but on trust. Trust, after all, is what transforms mystery into meaning rather than frustration. And that trust has been cultivated over years of shared vulnerability, music that carried personal truths, and performances that blurred the boundary between artist and audience. This is why the idea that the truth was not meant to be revealed yet resonates so strongly. It frames the delay not as avoidance, but as respect for the moment, for the message, and for the emotional readiness of everyone involved. When the tour finally begins, the atmosphere will be charged not just with excitement, but with emotional residue from this prolonged waiting. The surprise will arrive carrying more than its original intent. It will carry weeks of speculation, hope, and collective emotional investment. In that sense, even if the content of the surprise is simple, its impact will be anything but. Meaning is not created solely by what is shown, but by what preceded it. Perhaps this is the quiet brilliance of the moment that started with those 25 minutes. What initially seemed like a fleeting, almost accidental opening has evolved into a carefully sustained emotional arc. Jungkook and Taehyung may never explicitly explain what happened in that brief window of time, and they may not need to. The story has already been written through shared anticipation, and the end. The surprise will not only reveal something new, it will close a chapter defined by waiting. And when that happens, the question will no longer be why the truth was hidden, but why it felt so necessary to protect it until the right moment. For ARMY, that realization may be just as powerful as the surprise itself, confirming once again that the deepest connections are not always built through constant revelation, but through moments of silence filled with meaning. That silence, once broken, will not simply release information, it will release emotion that has been carefully contained. When Jungkook and Taehyung finally step forward and allow the surprise to surface, the reaction will likely be immediate and visceral, not because of shock alone, but because of recognition. Recognition that this moment was never meant to be rushed, that it required patience, and that every unanswered question along the way served a purpose. What emerges will feel less like a reveal and more like a shared exhale between artists and fans. There is a powerful emotional mechanism at work when anticipation stretches over time. Expectations do not remain static. They evolve, deepen, and mature. By the time the surprise arrives, ARMY will not be receiving it as passive spectators, but as participants who have already lived through its prelude. The emotional payoff, therefore, will not be confined to the stage or the announcement itself. It will echo in the way fans talk about it, remember it, and fold it into their ongoing narrative with Jungkook and Taehyung. From a broader cultural standpoint, moments like this challenge the assumption that visibility equals connection. Jungkook and Taehyung are demonstrating that restraint can be just as communicative as openness. In choosing when not to speak, they create a space where meaning accumulates rather than dissipates. This approach stands in contrast to the constant exposure that often flattens emotional impact in contemporary pop culture. Here, scarcity of information enhances depth. Emotionally, the surprise may function as a form of reassurance. Not reassurance through words, but through intention. It signals that Jungkook and Taehyung are thinking not only about performance quality, but about emotional alignment with ARMY before embarking on the physical and psychological demands of a tour. It suggests a desire to begin that journey from a place of honesty and shared understanding, even if that honesty is conveyed symbolically rather than explicitly. The memory of those initial 25 minutes will likely linger as a quiet subtext long after the surprise itself has been revealed. It will be referenced in hindsight as the moment when something shifted, when anticipation began to carry emotional weight of its own. What once felt confusing or unsettling may later be understood as necessary. This retrospective clarity is often how meaningful cultural moments are recognized, not in real time, but through reflection. As the tour progresses, each performance will carry traces of that origin story. Songs will be heard differently, gestures will be interpreted with new sensitivity, and the connection between Jungkook, Taehyung, and ARMY will feel subtly recalibrated.